You paid $199.99 for the tool set. 189 pieces, Craftsman, off a shelf at an Ace Hardware. A while later, you went back for the ratchet, 3/8 drive, another $29.99. Then the smaller set, $99.99, marked down from $139. $329.97 of your own money, spent one piece at a time, every piece of it carrying one name. And then a shell company named KCDIP turns up as the owner of that name. It was not Sears. A Delaware company had borrowed $1.8 billion against the Craftsman name and sold the bonds to an insurer Sears owned in Bermuda. May of 2006, 11 years before Stanley Black Decker bought a thing. All of it is public and signed. They sit at the SEC, the United States Bankruptcy Court for the Southern District of New York, the PBGC, the Federal Pension Insurer, and ESL Investments. Three things, in this order: what the Craftsman name became in May of 2006 and who it got pledged to afterward. The month the lifetime warranty split into two different warranties, which was July of 2012, 5 years before Stanley Black Decker owned anything. And which of the two Craftsman warranties still in writing today your broken wrench can be walked into? There are two from two different companies. But the real story of Craftsman is not the 2017 sale to Stanley Black Decker. One thing before the rewind, because it decides how you hear the rest. There are two records here. One is the money, meaning what happened to the Craftsman name as an asset. The other is the tools, meaning where they were made and what the warranty covered. Both are dated at both ends, and they run alongside each other for 11 years. No document anyone has produced proves they are the same record. So I am not going to tell you one caused the other because nobody can hand you the paper that says it. I will give you both with the dates. If you had asked anyone standing in a Sears tool aisle in 1990 who made the wrench in his hand, he would have said Sears made it. They had no idea. Sears did not make it. Yasko Hand Tools made it, and Yasko belonged to a corporation called Danaher, which put the arrangement in its own annual report to the SEC. Its tool group had been the principal manufacturer of Sears, Roebuck & Company's Craftsman line of mechanics hand tools for over 50 years. Over 50 years, written in 1996, which reaches into the early 1940s. The mark goes back to October of 1927, first used in commerce, registered in August of 1928. Scale is the part nobody remembers. In 1995, Danaher sold Sears over 100 million pieces of hand tool. Sears was 16% of everything Danaher sold that year, which meant Sears set the terms. And it was never a handshake. It was a contract filed with the SEC where anyone can pull it up. This agreement is made the 7th day of March, 1988, between Isco Hand Tools Incorporated and Sears, Roebuck & Company. It replaced an earlier agreement dated January 3, 1967. In the middle sits the sentence that matters to your garage. Sears agrees to purchase from seller in each contract year during the term hereof 70% of Sears requirements of Sears Craftsman grade socket wrenches and accessories and flat wrenches, open end, box end, and combination end. 70%. That was a binding floor in a signed document filed with the federal government, committing an American retailer to buy 7 out of every 10 of its Craftsman sockets and wrenches from an American maker. 3 years later, Sears went further. In June of 1991, the Baltimore Sun reported that Sears had selected Danaher as the sole source of Sears Craftsman mechanics hand tools, beginning the following year. The paper put the business at about $142 million a year and reported the other half of the decision without dressing it up. Sears would cease buying Stanley brand mechanics hand tools as it had in the past. Sears' own stated reason in that report was more control over the production of these tools, including specifications. Then the numbers in Danaher's filings start moving one direction and never move back. Sears was 17% of Danaher's sales in 1994, 10% by 1998, where the Evergreen contract also picks up 4 new words, subject to certain conditions. By 2002, Craftsman has been demoted in Danaher's own language to a sales channel. March of 2005. 2 weeks before Holding Corporation closed its purchase of Sears, Mart filed its annual report with the SEC and reported operating income of $1.66 billion for the 39 weeks ending in late January. Then, in the adjusted figures underneath, it removed $914 million and named what that was. Gain on sales of assets. Its announced transactions with Home Depot and Sears, $914 million out of $1.66 billion. Work that division. About 55% of the operating income of the company about to own Craftsman came from selling buildings, not from selling anything to a customer. May of 2006. Here is the beat the rest of this hangs on. In the company's own words, then a translation. A subsidiary of Holdings contributed the rights to use the Kenmore, Craftsman, and Die Hard trademarks in the U.S. and its possessions and territories to KCDIP LLC, an indirect wholly owned subsidiary of Holdings. Asset-backed securities with a par value of $1.8 billion were issued by KCDIP LLC and purchased by Sears Re, the collateral for which includes the trademark rights and royalty income. That is Sears describing Sears in a filing Sears signed. Every figure here comes from the company's own accounting of itself, the strongest class of document for a capital structure, and the only one that exists. Now the translation. Sears took the Craftsman name out of Sears and put it inside a company in Delaware. That company borrowed $1.8 billion against the name and issued bonds to cover it at 6.9% under an indenture dated May 18, 2006. The buyer was Sears Reinsurance Company Limited, a Bermuda Class III insurer Sears had formed in 2001. Sears lent itself money against your wrench. 6 years on, by the same accounting, the net book value of those trademark rights was about $1 billion, and Sears wrote down what the structure was for. The issuers of these securities, in its words, are bankruptcy remote, special purpose entities. Bankruptcy remote, written in 2006, 12 years before the bankruptcy. The ownership change sat at the bottom of the Craftsman website the whole time. In 1997, the footer read, copyright 1996, Sears, Roebuck and Company. Satisfaction guaranteed or your money back. By the end of 2007, registered trademarks of Sears Brands, LLC, and from May of 2009, in every capture after this, registered trademarks of KCDIP LLC. Nobody looks at the footer. One more line out of the trademark file. The registration carrying that original 1927 use lists KCDIP LLC as its owner of record. It was canceled in March of 2014 because the registrant did not file an acceptable declaration under Section 8. Letting an old registration lapse is ordinary housekeeping when a newer registration covers the same goods, and a newer one did. If that sounds bad, the two clocks are about to run in the same years. By then, this was not just about a trademark. It was about who the company was working for. Sears Holdings' annual report for 2005 carries a related party disclosure. The company's board of directors has delegated authority to direct investment of the company's surplus cash to Edward S. Lampert. The same note says Holdings employs certain employees of ESL, Lampert's own investment firm, among them Sears' senior vice president of real estate. The men deciding what the buildings were worth worked for the fund that owned the shares. When did you last try to use that lifetime promise? And which counter did you walk up to? That is the part I cannot get out of a filing. If reading a company's paperwork out loud, one brand at a time, is your idea of a good half hour, subscribe because that is what happens here every 3 days. So here is where the two clocks start running together. In February of 2014, Lampert put his position to shareholders in his own letter, rejecting what he called the incorrect belief that what our stores need most are hundreds of millions of dollars more in decor and fixtures. Put the spending next to the words. Capital expenditure, the money Sears put into its own stores and equipment, went from $552 million in 2007 to $80 million in 2017, a drop of about 85.5% against revenue down about 66.5%. Investment in the stores fell faster than the business did, and that was not the part that drew a lawsuit. In July of 2015, the buildings went out the door. 235 properties, about 36.7 million square feet across 49 states and Puerto Rico, sold to a new real estate company called Seritage for about $2.677 billion. Sears leased them back at about $153 million a year. The landlord kept the right to take back up to about half the space inside those stores and rent it to somebody else on better terms. Every automotive care center, every outparcel. ESL was expected to own about 44.9% of the new landlord and about 48.5% of Sears Holdings. Lampert took a seat on the landlord's board of trustees. Seritage's own prospectus said that in its risk factors, and then said the quiet part too. 5 weeks before closing, a shareholder lawsuit in the Delaware Court of Chancery alleged Sears was selling those properties at a price that is unfairly low from the point of view of Sears Holdings. That objection is printed in the sale document. People thought they had the full picture of Sears. They were wrong about which half was being taken apart. Now the other clock. The tool record does not need the money record at all. Craftsman's warranty statements lived on the company's website as a dated document, revised every few months and numbered statement by statement. 8 survive in the web archive, and the fracture happens between 2 of them. The revision dated December 1st, 2011, ran 40 numbered statements. Hand tools were one category. Item 10, other Craftsman hand tools. One promise, one paragraph, no tears, still up on the 1st of July, 2012. 19 days later came a new revision, dated July 11, 2012. 43 statements, and where there had been one hand tool category, there were 2. Item 11, tools labeled hand tool full warranty in the warranty header. Item 12, tools not labeled that. That is the split, dated to the month on Sears' own website, 5 years before Stanley Black and Decker had anything to do with it. The full tier kept the old language. If this Craftsman hand tool ever fails to provide complete satisfaction, it will be repaired or replaced free of charge. No proof of sale demanded. Ratchets, sockets, extension bars, and wrenches other than torque stayed inside that tier, and they are still inside it. The other tier is where the promise thinned. By the revision dated February 26, 2016, the document spelled it out. Tools of metal construction carry the lifetime limited warranty. Tools not of metal construction carry the limited warranty, offering only 1 year of coverage, and that tier required proof of original sale. Electronic torque wrenches came down to 90 days. A Sears-hosted document revised December 20th, 2018, puts it in one note. All product warranties are limited except for the hand tool full warranty. That was only round 1. The second half is in the verb. In a version revised August 24, 2020, the sentence about what you get changed. The old text said repaired or replaced free of charge. The new text says to return it to the Sears, Kmart, or other Transformco authorized retailer from which it was purchased, and adds this. If replacement is not available, the retailer will provide item price credit usable for other purchases from that retailer. Store credit, at the store you bought it from. Hold that, because it matters more than anything else here. While the paperwork thinned, the sourcing moved, and sourcing is the one place my record is thinner than I would like. The trade outlet that documented it at the time was Tool Guide. A 2008 Craftsman catalog said all Craftsman sockets and wrenches are made in the USA. Imports appear around 2010, and by 2013 the American-made tools have been replaced with imports. Almost every later account traces back to that reporting. One source repeated, so I am naming it. What is not thin is the last American plant making Craftsman hand tools. Western Forge began in 1965 in Defiance, Ohio, a joint venture between Sears and a founder named William Schlosser, making torque wrenches, and it moved to Colorado Springs a year later. It employed more than 1,000 people there in 1990, 645 before the 2008 recession. In February of 2020, its owner, Ideal Industries, filed a state layoff notice for 164 workers. Permanent closure. 54 years in Colorado Springs. Finished. Ideal's chief executive, Steve Henn, gave the reason to the Gazette in Colorado Springs. We just couldn't survive the impact of the Craftsman move. Ideal said the plant made Craftsman tools until Sears sold that division and its manufacturing moved offshore. a name company naming the cause of its own closure to a named newspaper, March of 2016. The two records touch on one document at last, and the document is a pension agreement. Sears filed an 8K reporting a 5-year pension plan, protection and forbearance agreement. Certain subsidiaries granted the PBGC what the filings call a springing lien on a set of ring-fenced assets, meaning the federal pension insurer got a claim that would snap into place if Sears tried to move them. The chief financial officer's sworn declaration spells out what sat inside that fence. The ring-fenced assets included the intellectual property related to the Kenmore, Craftsman, and Die Hard brands. Craftsman was collateral for the retirement checks of the people who sold it. That declaration says selling Craftsman would have tripped the lien without the pension agency's permission, and that in March of 2017 the PBGC consented. What the plans got, by the agency's own announcement, was a $250 million payment due in 3 years, a 15-year income stream on future Craftsman sales, and a lien on $100 million of real estate. Now hold two primary numbers together, 13 days apart. The Craftsman consideration was put at a net present value of about $900 million. 13 days after closing, Sears filed its annual report for 2016, reporting a net loss of $2.2 billion and stating that substantial doubt exists related to the company's ability to continue as a going concern. The name was worth around $900 million. The company that had owned it for 89 years was telling the government it might not survive the year. October 15, 2018. Sears Holdings filed for Chapter 11 in the Southern District of New York on a petition signed by Mohsin Megji, Chief Restructuring Officer. The numbers everyone quotes from that filing are debt and headcount. The ones nobody quotes are worse. As of the 4th of August 2018, assets were $6.937 billion against liabilities of $11.339 billion, a deficit of $4.4 billion. The company, in its own sworn words, loses approximately $125 million per month. Revenue had fallen about 53.8% in 5 years, and 71.7% of the stores were shut. A document filed the same day tells you where the last dollars went. Sears asked the court to keep paying severance for non-insiders only, and then wrote this: "The debtors are not seeking authority to make payments on account of pre-petition severance obligations." In that motion's table, unpaid compensation is $39.2 million. Payroll taxes $36 million. The severance line is blank. What that plan owed was 1 week's base pay for every year of service under a master transition pay plan, effective January 1st, 2007. A man with 30 years on the floor was owed 30 weeks, and Sears left the line at zero. Two plans covering approximately 90,000 people went to the PBGC, underfunded by $1.4 billion, 64% funded, with benefits frozen since 2005. So what did Sears sell in 2017? Not a tool company. It had not owned one since at least 1988, when the contract said an American manufacturer would make 70% of the wrenches. Not a factory, because Sears never had one. Sears sold a royalty stream attached to a name that had been sitting inside a Delaware finance company for 11 years, borrowed against for $1.8 billion, and pledged to the federal pension insurer about a year earlier. The reason is on the record and has nothing to do with the tools. $4.4 billion of whole, $125 million a month going out, and a brand the company could not sell without asking a federal agency first. That is the real reason. Now here is what it left you holding, and it is not the answer anybody expects. There are 2 Craftsman warranties in writing today. Both are real. Both are on the internet right now. The first belongs to Transform Co., the company that came out of the Sears bankruptcy, still running Sears and Kmart. Its Craftsman warranty document is up. It promises free replacement, and it tells you where to redeem it: at the Sears, Kmart, or other Transform Co. authorized retailer from which it was purchased. So follow that sentence to the counter. Sears hometown, the other authorized retailer, filed for Chapter 11 in Delaware on December 12, 2022, with about 121 stores in 26 states and Puerto Rico, down from just under 500 when Transformco took it back. Its chief executive, Elissa Robertson, told the court the chain relied on Transformco to provide key products and services, and that Transformco failed to do so. In January of 2023, Retail Dive reported that all 115 remaining dealer-run Sears hometown stores across 36 states and Puerto Rico were closing down and holding liquidation sales, with $40 million of inventory on the block, power tools included. The web page that used to host the Craftsman exchange procedure now redirects to the Sears website. Kmart. The last full-size Kmart in the United States in Bridgehampton, New York, closed on the 20th of October 2024. At the merger in 2005, Quart had about 1,400 stores. Sears itself. CBS Boston reported in March of 2025 that there were just 8 locations left in the United States. The promise did not shrink. The counter did. Transformco's Craftsman warranty is still written down, still says free replacement, and points you to a retail network that has emptied out from under it. Now the second warranty, and this is the part I did not expect to find. Stanley Black Decker's Craftsman warranty page, fetched this week, says this: full lifetime warranty. If the product fails to perform for any reason, we will replace it. Mechanics tool sets, ratchets, wrenches, sockets, individual open stock tools, then a note underneath. Same warranty for all new Craftsman models and older models with a model number starting with a 9. No proof of purchase required. The tools already in your toolbox are inside that sentence. The old Sears era Craftsman hand tools, the ones with a 9 at the front of the model number, are covered today by the company that bought the name, for any reason, with no receipt, returnable to a stocking retailer down the road from you. Sears kept the promise on paper and lost the counter, and the company that bought the name honors it at a hardware store. I am not going to pretend Stanley Black Decker gave you more than you had. On its limited tiers, it added a clause Sears never had. Coverage applies only if the product was purchased from the company or one of its authorized sellers. It reserves the right to reject claims on tools bought from unauthorized sellers, and limited coverage extends only to the original end-user purchaser and is not transferable. Buy a limited tier tool off a marketplace seller, and you may own a tool with no warranty at all. That is a real narrowing, and it is worth knowing before you buy. But on the hand tools, the ones this channel is about, the wording is the most generous document I could find in the category. Here's what everybody else says, fetched the same day. Gear wrench covers mechanics, hand tools, for the lifetime of the original end-user purchaser against manufacturing defects. Right tool covers a tool for as long as you own it. If it fails to render service due to defect in workmanship or materials, excludes normal wear from use and wants a receipt. Proto covers the original purchaser against defects in material or workmanship. Nipex wants a return authorization number. Proof of purchase, original end-user status, and excludes all shipping and transportation costs. Snap-on's personal use warranty extends only to the original customer, cannot be transferred, and states that warranty requests missing any required information will not be processed. Every one of those is a good company making a fair promise about defects. Craftsman's hand tool wording is the only one in the set saying fails to perform for any reason, and the only one saying no proof of purchase required. Now the objection, because it is the right one to raise. If the warranty is that good, why is the tool not made here? It is not. Craftsman's own product data says so. The 189-piece mechanics tool set at $199.99 lists its country of origin as Taiwan. Its 135-piece set, Taiwan. Its 25-piece master plier set, China. And the federal standard for saying otherwise is not a matter of opinion. Under Title 16 of the Code of Federal Regulations, Section 323.2, calling a product made in the USA is a deceptive practice unless final assembly or processing occurs in the United States. All significant processing occurs in the United States, and all or virtually all components are made and sourced in the United States. Craftsman does not make that claim on these tools, and its own product pages tell you why. So this is not a buy American verdict. This is a buy the warranty you can redeem verdict, and those are different arguments. Work the money. The 189-piece set is $199.99. A lifetime warranty that says any reason and no receipt should mean you buy that set once. Call it 30 years, which is what a lifetime warranty is supposed to be worth. $199.99 divided by 30 years is $6.67 a year. The 3/8 drive 72-tooth ratchet is $29.99. Over 30 years, just under $1 a year. $6.67 a year for a set the manufacturer will replace for any reason without a receipt. That is the number to beat. And on warranty wording, nothing in this category beats it. If the tool fails at year 12 and gets replaced, your cost per year drops again. So the verdict: buying Craftsman hand tools today, buy them from a stocking retail partner of Stanley Black Decker, keep the model number, and understand that a 9 at the front of an old one means it is still covered. If you have a Sears era Craftsman ratchet in a drawer with a 9 on it, that tool is not dead. It is under a warranty a working company is honoring right now, and you do not need the receipt you threw away in 1994. And if what you own came from a Sears store in the last few years, under the Transformco document, take 10 minutes to find out whether the store you bought it from still exists before you count on it. The one thing this whole story should teach a buyer is that a promise is only ever worth the counter behind it. A warranty is a document plus a place. Sears kept writing the document for years after the places went away. Read both halves before you spend the money. If you want the whole category in one place, every hand tool brand ranked on what its warranty says, who honors it, and what it works out to per year. Chapter 3 of the Buy It for Life. Brand ledger is where I put all of it. Receipts and document dates included. Next time, we are going after the brands still stamping a country of origin on the box, and which ones can back it up when you read the fine print. So go find the ratchet, the one you bought years ago, the one you already paid for, the one with a 9 at the front of the number. Somebody still owes you a new one. All that time the name was being borrowed against and pledged and sold. That tool in your hand never stopped being covered. You just needed to know which door to carry it to.